Let me present the agenda. Great. Welcome, folks, to the weekly SIG Autoscaling meeting on the 5th of March 2026. Okay, let's start with the standing items on the agenda. That's not what I wanted to do. Right. So this looks same as last time, still the same flakiness I mentioned, but there's an issue tracking this already. PPA.
Yeah, I actually looked at this earlier. I was actually wondering if we should just narrow it down to a smaller set. I might change the URLs. Most things seem fine.
Yeah, like
There's
even the
no,
flaky ones seem very green.
yeah.
There's like a single red run. Okay, this potentially. Okay, but historically it's also
That's also
not.
pre-submits, so it could
Okay,
just be
okay.
code in
I see.
development. So I'm not too worried. I think we're in good shape.
I see. Okay, looks good. HPA.
So this one there is a flake. That flag. So the way configurable tolerances works, or the way the test works to allocate CPU to pods to then cause the autoscaler to scale uses a service, and so it doesn't necessarily distribute the load evenly. So I try to fix it by making it more likely to distribute it evenly, and it made it less flaky. But I've actually filed an issue for that flake to change how the load is distributed. So there is an issue for that one.
Did you create this issue already or
I created it today, yeah.
yeah. Good.
Yeah. Somebody's also assigned it to themselves, so we'll see if it's see what happens.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so we have this tracked, right?
Correct, yeah.
Perfect. I managed to fix my camera in the meantime. This is Carpenter. Oh, supposed to be mostly informative. I admit I don't know how to read this compared to the test grid.
Can you click on the could you click on the
Yep.
highest red one just to see what that chore there, just to see what a I don't know if it's oh I see multiple versions of kind. And so on the left you see kind E to E and then the red one. Yeah, maybe click on that and see if there's anything interesting. Okay, so it's running inside a GitHub action.
Yeah, sorry, I can explain our CI a little more if you
Oh,
guys are
hey.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have these GitHub Action workflows that run the kind end-to-end regression suite, which is a bunch of tests. I've picked the kind EDE as the one with to go in this meeting because it is like our full end-to-end. And when you click into an actual workflow that runs against a specific commit, like that chore there or the tests, you can see that we run the same regression test across a bunch of different versions of Kubernetes. And then when one of them flakes like this, we're like, okay, well, that's a flake because I don't think there's a 1.30 specific regression in this go mod bump. So hopefully we can find out all the flakes and remove them, but you know, put it on
Yeah.
a list, eh?
Makes sense. Thanks for the context.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on with the rest of the agenda. Agent, PPA.
Cool. So could you open that? So we have very few people who can approve VPA changes. And we have quite a wide range of people who are making contributions. And it doesn't seem to be a lot of people who are kind of willing to stick around. It seems to be people who, make a feature, get it over the finish line, and then move on, which is fine. But in an attempt to try and focus those who want to review, I thought I'm going to try making milestones for each release, put a bunch of stuff in the milestone and kind of use that as a place for the focus. These are the things that we want to review and get done. it doesn't mean that this is exclusively what's going to land in 1.7.0. It's just the things that we think might land in, but the milestone may change over time. At the moment, I just put stuff in. There's no like formal this should go in or this shouldn't go in. But I figured if anybody has a strong opinion about something that either shouldn't go in and is in, or vice versa, we can have the chat and kind of figure out. But the main goal is try and direct review resources to roughly this, just to see if we can keep our efforts more tightly focused. Adam.
There's some discussion not too long ago of having like a triage meeting for VPA, right? Did anything come of that?
There was, I think Jack had taken an action item for that, and Jack isn't here today. Is that correct, Kuba? Jack was going to look.
Yes, I think so. Yes, Jack was
Okay.
going to follow up on the triage meeting.
Cool.
Yes.
Should we put that on as an item for next time we meet?
Yes. Let
Cool.
me do that.
So this is to hopefully try and help us with code review. What I also want to do is make a project board to track enhancement proposals, just so we have an idea of like where they are in the life cycle. So if something's ready for review, folks can review it, or something's, being worked on, we know the person who's working on it is still busy. So I'll figure that project board out later and then share it here when it's ready. And again, this is me just making stuff up on the fly. If it doesn't work, if anybody has opinions, we can figure it out and make it better over time.
Thanks, Adrian. I added an agenda item for the next week.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this, or was it all?
No, that's good.
I guess it's all. Okay, Michael, start updates.
Yeah, we're currently working through something with the cluster API provider, and I just wanted to follow up. Like, if a user specifies startup taints as the command line flag, when the autoscaler goes into a simulation, does it remove those startup taints from the node templates that it's creating?
Yes, but
Yeah,
only
it does for sure.
up to some time. I think the difference between startup and status taints is that if you expect the status to be present at the node at any time, based on some condition, then it's a status tendency always filters these out. But I think for the startup ones, there's some sort of timeouts, and they're meant to be removed. If they're not, I'm not sure what happens, but it's definitely not the expected state.
Okay. I was looking through the code, and it's, I just didn't get enough time to figure it out. So since this meeting came up, I figured I'd ask. Because it seems like it wouldn't be appropriate if like a user specifies startup taints and then they also have to like tolerate those taints on their workload. Like that doesn't make any sense. So like I have to assume that the autoscaler is like ignoring the startup taints during its early simulations. Otherwise the pods would never be, they would never look like the pods would be scheduled there, right?
The point at which the taints are ignored or filtered out is we never do that for existing nodes. But when a template node is created from a real node, this is the point where we filter these taints out, so that in the simulation, when we inject new nodes based on this template, they don't have this taint.
Okay, yeah, that's what I would expect. Okay, cool. That gives me that's good. I'll try to follow up by looking at the code a little more, but that at least gives me more confidence about the change we're making. Thanks, I appreciate it.
No problem. And lastly, we have Bartek with the proposal we mentioned and discussed last week also.
Yeah, so I just wanted to put it out there. First of all, thanks Kuba for talking about this last week. We have this proposal about moving core cluster autoscaler logic to a dedicated repo. And this is basically, I'm not sure if there is any questions for now, but this is mostly a shout out from me to, if you have any questions, to please ask them either here or on the issue to have the biggest alignment possible on this. Yes, Amika?
Yeah, I guess the only question I have, because I'm doing some work where I'm needing to write another provider for cluster autoscaler, and it's like for some downstream work I'm doing, and I'm curious, like if we when do we think we might break out or start the new repo? Like we talking like 6 months, maybe by the end of the year? Like, what do we think?
I mean, from my perspective, the sooner the better.
Okay.
So this is mostly a question of alignment. Basically, how much alignment do we need, and what is the minimum set of approvers for this proposal?
Okay.
From my perspective, as I said, the sooner the better. If we can try to do the migration within the next month, even, I'm all for it.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, because like the provider I'm working on, I want to contribute it to the upstream, but I don't want to contribute it to the repo in the current state. I'd rather wait to see if we're going to do the library stuff soon. I'll wait and propose it as a separate repo then.
Yes,
Yeah, like
as a first step, for sure, we will just, as you all know, cluster autoscaler code is a bit of a modular, messy thingy.
Right.
So at first step, we will probably just move the logic there, and then we plan to do some follow-ups with trying to refactor it and structure it better so it's more modular.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
for starters, I think we'll just start with moving the code.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like the timeline and sort of moving things piece by piece and not all in one go was also sort of the motivation for why we want to extract this to a new repo versus kick the cloud provider code out of the current repo. Because even if we have the deprecation policy, right, that allows us to do this in a release or two, that would still, like, we could not move as fast in this repo in like the next few months, for example. Whereas it seems easier if we extract this to a new place. But this is still up for discussion, of course. I think Jack was the strongest voice against last week, and he's not here. So hopefully we can just continue that on the issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. From my side, extracting the core logic seems just easier. We can do it with a single step instead of going cloud provider by cloud provider. So this just seems quicker if we want to move fast with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we don't have to get rid of it's like we still have the old repo so people continue working on it. And then, we can, as we factor out the library and everything. Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Do you have any other questions?
No, big thanks to Bartek as well. Like, I really appreciate him bringing up this issue and everything.
I think it would make sense to start some sort of lazy consensus period. But maybe let's get back to this next week. Maybe we get full alignment on the issue by then. If not, I think we should start some sort of lazy consensus and then just work through the points that are still contentious. Okay.
Given it's almost KubeCon, I don't know if everybody who has opinions about this will be at KubeCon, but it could also be a good opportunity to chat about it in person.
That is fair, although we were sort of hoping to already have started this work by KubeCon and sort of already have things in motion. I think there's no I think the only controversial part was which direction we move the repos to. I haven't heard any other objections. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, everybody, but I'm fairly confident we should be able to align on this before KubeCon and already start this work. Right. I don't think there's any other questions. Do we have any other topics from the chat, from the people on the call? I don't think so. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
I could have one if we have some time.
Yeah?
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah. I was looking at the workload aware scheduling doc. Let me see if I can't grab a link. It was posted a couple weeks ago in the agenda that Pavel brought, and I wanted to get people's folks on the proposal proposes that like we make 3 new APIs. There's the pod scheduling preference API, which dictates, this is the exact one, that dictates like how pods do the scheduling fallback. And then it also does this whole like menu and discovery concept where there is like cluster autoscalers can fill out this whole big menu, and then in the like it can the scheduler can actually make requests for an object. So like in a carpenter world, this is a very simple, like the node pool is what your menu looks like, and then your pod scheduling or your pod request, your node request is like a node claim, right? I'm sure there's equivalents in a lot of other autoscalers. I guess I was looking at this, and I think it can be simplified quite a bit by basically removing those two APIs. So like I was wondering if you guys had some thoughts on the initial idea of that this could be done maybe a little simpler if it's just conditions on the pod. So the scheduler only needs to know if this pod can get new capacity through an autoscaler. It doesn't actually need to know what new capacity is available, because the pod scheduling preferences and pod requirements implicitly indicate what all requirements or preferences that pod has. And as soon as you have that, there's no need for a menu, because what does the scheduler care?
I think 2 points that might be relevant. One is that one of the biggest motivations for the whole effort was making gang scheduling possible. At which point it's like pod conditions seem insufficient because we're looking at more than one pod. And also, okay, I forgot my second point, but I think so well, for sure, like this is meant to also be able to schedule whole workloads and sort of go like change the whole core scheduler algorithm that we have today. That is not like flexible enough to handle the gang scheduling use case.
I think there is also a thing that is potentially new here. With basically up until now, we were always doing decisions based on existing node groups. With having this menu, we could potentially start creating new node groups, and then having something that is more declarative rather than having just a set of limits on the scheduling is easier to handle. Because instead of having, okay, I want these characteristics, you have exactly what is available to create.
Sure, but
So I also see
when
this
you're using
possibility.
that, like what's available to create to make a decision, like do you need more information than what the pod scheduling preferences indicate in order to know, like, because the scheduler right now, I understand that the scheduler right now doesn't do like I'd rather not schedule this node even though I would rather not schedule this pod even though I could, because I'd rather it land on a new node. And there's no way to like indicate to an autoscaler that that's the case. But like once you have this preferences API where the pod can say, hey, I'd like to prefer this, and this kube scheduler has the algorithm to say, okay, well, I would rather provision for this. It just needs a way to signal to an autoscaler that this is the preference it's trying to fulfill. Am I wrong?
I think I managed to remember my second point, and I think that's relevant to what you're saying. I think like the other problem that we have currently between scheduling and autoscaling is scoring. Because scheduler has a lot of scoring strategies. The plugins all have some strategies, not all, but most of them have some strategies for how to like influence which node to pick by scheduler. And that works in a very particular way. You always have a single pod and a set of nodes, possibly all of them, possibly a subset. And then on the autoscaler side, there's this, at least in CA, there's a completely separate set of heuristics that CA uses to choose which node groups to scale up for a given pod. And it's a different scoring problem because there you have a whole group of pods and different possible groups of nodes. And it's been a challenge to sort of connect these two ideas together. Because in practice, in like a fully autoscaled cluster, where most nodes are always utilized and it relies on autoscaling to bring new nodes, that in practice means that all of the scheduler scoring strategies are just not in play. And so I think basically the pod preference is sort of only one of the factors that would go into the scoring. And this, for example, to give like a concrete example, DRA has a like a prioritized device request, something like that, where you could specify like an order of different sort of devices that you want. And like currently it works, but it doesn't really give you the optimal preference. And it doesn't work with autoscaling at all, right? So this, like this way, the way the APIs are proposed, I think gives the full decision power about where to schedule nodes, where to schedule pods to scheduler. And then we have sort of a single place that makes the decision, and this removes a whole set of issues, I think. Might be worth thinking about. But like I'm not saying that your idea is wrong. I haven't gotten really deep into this doc yet. I really need to do that before KubeCon. Definitely comment that on the doc. Like Pavel, I think, is actively working on it. He'll be very interested to hear your thoughts. If you think something can be simplified, either there's some condition that prevents that, or we'll have a nicer API.
Because the workload, the preference API, it struck me as like the idea was like a hard waterfall API. So like I do like the idea of being able to score options and like have because you know, hard preferences don't always work the best. They're simple to understand, but they're not, you know, necessarily the most functional in practice. And so I like that a lot better than this like idea of like do this, and if you can't do that, and if you can't do that, because that's not ideal from a distributed system in a lot of ways. But those are great points. I'll have to think about it more, and you know, I'll see you at KubeCon.
Yeah, also I think conceptually, I'm not sure if this part, the preference API, was even part of the original proposal. It is sort of orthogonal to the two other APIs. It is sort of working on top as one of the like scoring parts. At least this is the way I see the proposal so far.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other things to discuss? I don't think
Hello.
so. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
So this is my first time attending the meeting, and I just recently did my CKA certification, and it would hardly take a minute of yours. So I just wanted to know, like, if I wanted to start with these documents, uh, what should be a good starting point? I see a couple of meetings scheduled for today.
I think I didn't get all of that. A good starting point for what, and what meetings are you talking about? Mike, maybe you have context?
I mean, I don't have context. I was going to ask some questions. Yeah, like first, welcome, Vikram. And I guess second, yeah,
Definitely.
are you talking about cluster autoscaler or pod autoscaler or everything? Like where would you like to get involved, I guess?
I would say cluster and pod autoscaler both.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, have you been looking through the repository? Have you been looking at the issues there? Or is there any particular, you know, I guess workflow that you're working on that you think, you know, that you might want to get involved with?
Right now, I just want to get involved. I guess I need a starting point, like as in, I just did my CKA certification recently, and I'm just, decision-making state right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're familiar with EKS and AWS currently. That one of the things about working with the cluster autoscaler is like, you know, aside from the test platforms, you know, we need to be able to test on the actual platforms themselves, which can be difficult sometimes for independent users. But the pod autoscaling stuff can all be tested locally and everything. So I think that's a great place to get involved. And, you know, maybe following up with Adrian or one of the other pod autoscaler kind of maintainers on Slack is like a great way to find some issues to get into. I don't know if Adrian, I don't want to put you on the spot here if there's any
No,
like
that's
stuff.
good. So I have a few suggestions. There's a website, kubernetes.dev. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a good starting point for somebody who wants to be a new contributor. There's also a new contributors meeting that happens. I forget exactly where that is. If you join the SIG Contrib X channel in Slack, I think they should be able to point you somewhere. So that'll get you familiar with the community, how Kubernetes is split up, you've got to a SIG, so I assume you're probably fine with most of that. The second thing that I'd do is find a SIG that you're interested in. So you're here. So join this meeting every week. Be a fly on the wall. Listen, follow. If nothing happens from the meeting, that's fine. It'll take some time, but you'll figure stuff out. And then also look at open pull requests, and then open issues, and just see if there's something that looks small that you're willing to take, or if there's something that you're willing to review. It could be a super small something. It could be big. Don't stress too much, but just start sort of mulling over the information. Getting familiar with the autoscaling is a bit strange in that we have the cluster autoscaler and the vertical pod autoscaler in a separate repo. We have github.com/kubernetes/autoscaling. So get an idea of the labels that we use, the way stuff happens on GitHub, and kind of just start from there. Does any of that help?
Okay, sure. That
Might be
helps.
a
I
lot of
also
information, but if you join every week, be on the call, put your hand up when we're looking for something, Sorry, Kuba.
we also just posted 2 links on the meeting chat with like a list of issues tagged as a good first issue. There's some from VPA, there's some from CA, although they seem pretty old. So if you're picking up the CA ones, please post on the issue, tag the reporter or me, and let's sync before you start, because they might be outdated. The VPA ones are very new though, relatively new.
Okay.
So
So
that's probably a good starting point in our
I should
repos.
look into VPA then. Okay.
And then
Okay.
also look at kubernetes.dev, the website, and the new contributors meeting.
Sure.
They might help you, figure out what you're looking for. But the fact that you've made it here already sounds like a good start.
Okay. Thank you. And I was looking at the vertical pod autoscaler, the open and closed issues. So now I see a couple of issues are already closed. Should I look into those issues, try to get myself familiar with them first before I look into the open issues? Or should I directly move on to them if I'm confident?
If you
If you
want to
want,
contribute, open issues.
yeah,
Okay.
and if you want to get context on existing things, like reading the code is probably more practical than reading already closed issues.
And
Mhm.
that milestone link that I spoke about at the beginning of the meeting, some of those might be quite in depth and involved, but there could be some to start getting your head around. That's potentially a good starting point as well. It's just looking at that, because it's stuff that is likely to have more eyes on it, and so you'll be involved with something that's going to move forward as opposed to potentially something that's stale. So that's also another good start.
Yeah,
Yeah, just posted this link on the meeting chat as well.
one final recommendation, and I'm capturing these links in the agenda too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
Vikram,
perfect.
I would get your local development environment set up too. Like get comfortable running the unit tests and running the local tests, because if you're going to be fixing things, most often you're going to be asked to write tests to go along with them. So being able to run like the vertical bot autoscaler test locally is a really good exercise to get you ready for contributing and everything.
And if you follow the docs and you can't get it working locally, reach out to us. We can help you out, and that can be a good first pull request to fix the docs and to get things up and running.
Okay, sure.
Are you in the SIG Autoscaling channel in Slack?
Yes.
Cool. If you got any questions,
Yeah,
feel
that's
free
the
to ask.
best way to reach us outside of this
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
And welcome to DM if you want to. Like, don't be shy. Just throw a question our way.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, we are over time, so let's hold other topics until next week. Thanks, everyone. See you all next week.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks. See ya.
Later.